Welcome. This is the Program Overview webinar, a resource for SDSFIE training. This training resource is designed for a general audience. Viewers need not have any prior familiarity with SDSFIE or its components. There are no prerequisites for this training resource. The overall goal for this training resource is for users to understand the purpose, structure, and parts of the SDSFIE family of standards to the extent required for their role and responsibility. The specific objectives for this presentation are that the audience gains an understanding of the following: what the SDSFIE acronym stands for and its definition, the purpose of SDSFIE, what its goals are, and what principles are followed to achieve those goals, what the individual standards in the SDSFIE family of standards are, the history of SDSFIE, what the Department of Defense Instruction, or DoD, 8130.01 is and how it shapes SDSFIE policy, participants, and governance, what the IG is, what is contained within the SDSFIE Governance Plan, or SGP, and what it affects, and what the Change Management Process, or CMP, is, and what the SDSFIE portal and its constituent parts provide, like the APP for CMP implementation. SDSFIE is an acronym for Spatial Data Standards for Facilities, Infrastructure, and Environment. The FIE thus represents the different types of data in the installation, range, and training space that our standards encompass. The definition of SDSFIE provides both its structure, a framework for a family of standards governed by the Installation Geospatial Information and Services Governance Group, or IG, supported with online tools, technical support, and training, and its purpose, meeting the DoD goal of making installation and civil works geospatial data and services visible, accessible, understandable, linked, trusted, interoperable, and secure, or VALTIS, across the DoD. In the last decade, SDSFIE has evolved in a number of ways. This includes expanding from the single vector standard to a family of standards, with the additions of the now mature quality, metadata, and raster standards, and the emerging portrayal and endorsed standards. Now that we know what SDSFIE is, let's consider why it is important. SDSFIE allows the DoD to protect the data investment it makes across all installation and Army Corps of Engineers Civil Works program areas, increases the usefulness of installation data beyond the installation boundary to support headquarters planning and decision-making, achieves efficiencies through common data collection, analysis, and visualization tools, and improves auditability of what we do. In short, it allows us to collaborate by agreeing to speak a common language. We see it as codified common sense. If you are not convinced, consider that implementation of SDSFIE is mandated. Because of the importance of SDSFIE being created, adopted, and implemented, the Assistant Secretary of Defense for Energy, Installations, and Environment issued a DoD for Installation Geospatial Information and Services, or IGINS. We'll go into the requirements from that DoD shortly. As a point of reference, the DoD installations portfolio consists of 667,760 assets, valued at nearly $1.8 trillion on nearly 26 million acres of land, located at 4,686 sites worldwide. Managing accountability for that volume of real estate and real property requires organization and robust data. SDSFIE is the DoD's Geospatial Data Schema baseline. First, let's consider the evolution of the vector standard and the key milestones in the maturation of the SDSFIE program. Before discussing the significant aspects of the DoD that define our program, let's consider where SDSFIE has come from and where it is going. This graphic represents different versions of the SDSFIE V data content standard, with time moving forward from 1992 on the left to the present on the right, and the change in the vector model accumulating from the bottom to the top. The SDSFIE Vector Data Content Standard started out as the Tri-Service Spatial Data Standards, or TSSDS, GIS data model in 1993. In Period A, from 1993 to 1999, the Geospatial Data Standard emerged to accommodate the rapidly evolving and wide adoption of GIS technologies for installation operations and management for the Army, Air Force, and Navy installations, as well as Army Corps of Engineers. New versions of the vector standard were released about one per year. In period B, from 1999 to 2006, the TSSDS was renamed to the more descriptive Spatial Data Standards for Facilities, Infrastructure, and Environment, or SDSFIE. It continued to evolve with 9 releases ending in version 2.5. During this period, the model grew in size as it captured every feature and attribute the components wanted split out. In period C, from 2006 to 2013, the DoD components collectively agreed to restructure the standard as a logical data model to better align with DoD IT Standards Registry, or DISR. Also, the SDSFIE vector standard was simplified by consolidating redundant features and removing attributes that were held in other business systems or databases of record. This lumping modeling approach was a significant paradigm shift, as evident in the steeper line and more rapid change starting at version 2.6, which was the last release done under the old splitting modeling. With version 3.0, the DoD components adopted the new concept of an enterprise-level core standard known as SDSFIE Gold with component adaptations. In period D, from 2013 to the present, it was clear that a more explicit and detailed set of business rules was required. The result was the SDSFIE Vector Implementation Guidance, or SFIG, which contained a set of rules governing implementation and the development and submission of adaptations by the components. Additionally, data elements that were common among components but not yet present in the Gold version 3.0 or 3.1 were identified and added to Gold version 4.0. Following Gold 4.0 release, the SDSFIE vector standard has evolved more slowly through a series of core agendum releases. Along the way, data elements required for alignment of SDSFIE with the Sustainment Management System, or SMS modules, as well as for alignment with the Real Property Classification System, or RPCS, have been significant drivers of changes to SDSFIE, and when fully incorporated will likely lead to the release of Gold 5.0. Another key milestone noted in the timeline that supported the evolution of SDSFIE was the development of the SDSFIE Governance Plan, or SGP, and its publication in 2014. The Governance Plan defined specific roles and responsibilities for SDSFIE stakeholders, including the DoD components, DoD administrators, and the support team, then defined formal business processes that involve the stakeholders in specific actions and outcomes. Moreover, the SGP renamed the single SDSFIE standard for vector features to SDSFIE-V, making room for other members in a family of standards. It went on to outline guiding principles and goals for this new holistic suite of IGI&S standards, which deserve a closer look. The graphic shown here is a representation of how the SDSFIE family of standards relate to the geographic elements of mapped data, using the Fort Buchanan installation as an example location. Starting in the upper left, the portrayal, or P standard, shows how features on the ground are represented by varying point and line style, size and color, and polygon color and fill patterns. The vector, or V standard, on which we have spent most of our efforts, establishes a common vernacular for features, like buildings, boundaries, and roads, and attributes that describe those features. The metadata, or M standard, captures important information about the data, such as who created it, to what date the content is relevant, how it was created, and when it was published, which is important for the discovery of data and understanding its quality and usefulness. The quality, or Q standard, is a set of procedures and metrics to ensure and measure data condition and character. The raster, or R standard, is a set of guidance and recommendations for acquiring and using raster data, such as satellite imagery, aerial photography, LiDAR, and elevation data, with best practices and endorsed standards for collection, processing, and format. The endorsed, or E standard, is the set of geospatial standards that are external but complementary to SDSFIE and vetted by the SDSFIE community. All of these standards help fulfill the DoD goal of making installation and civil works geospatial data and services vaultus. The definition of the SDSFIE family of standards and the roles and responsibilities of the DoD components as presented in the 2014 SDSFIE Governance Plan were clarified and given weight by the 2015 publication of the Department of Defense Instruction 8130.01, entitled Installation Geospatial Information and Services. The IGINS DoD mandated the use and management of the SDSFIE standards by the DoD components by providing governance procedures, establishing policy, and assigning responsibilities to the components and other SDSFIE stakeholders. We will now consider each of these DoD topics in more detail. While providing governance procedures, the DoD formalized the IGINS Governance Group, or IG, which is made up of representation from Air Force, Army, Marine Corps, Navy, Washington Headquarters Service, and the Army Corps of Engineers. The IG is chaired by the Geospatial Information Officer, or GIO, for the Assistant Secretary of Defense for Energy, Installations, and Environment. The DoD charges the IG with responsibilities to function as an IGINS standards consensus body and to coordinate and facilitate standards implementation within the components. With respect to establishing policy, the DoD for IGINS makes clear its applicability to DoD installations and the supporting and affected environment, and for the military components in facility construction, sustainment, and modernization. The DoD mandates that first, investments in IGINS data, information, and IT conform to the DoD business enterprise architecture. Second, that they align with core business mission requirements throughout their life cycles per the 2013 DoD entitled Sharing Data, Information, and Information Technology (IT) Services in the Department of Defense. And third, that the data be made vaultus per the 2020 DoD Data Strategy. The DoD also specifies important responsibilities of each of the components. It mandates that the four armed services, WHS, and Army Corps of Engineers, must designate the element within its organization that leads IGINS, must participate in the IG and the IGINS Community of Interest, or COI, must follow each of the standards within the SDSFIE family, as well as other relevant standards, and must establish a trusted authoritative data source, or ADS, for each installation for all geospatial data and products produced, acquired, or maintained to fulfill EI&E missions. An ADS must be assigned for data that encompasses the natural resource, cultural resource, environmental, safety, and master planning functional areas. There must be assigned installation-level ADSs for Common Installation Picture, or KIP data, which is a set of standardized map layers that serve as the basis for planning and executing EI&E missions, such as real property inventory and audit readiness, emergency response management, and installation master planning. From the DoD, we can state high-level SDSFIE program goals. To achieve interoperability for geospatial data and systems using accepted industry practices, to promote the implementation of SDSFIE DoD-wide, to align the program to functional business mission requirements and the DoD enterprise architecture, to establish and operate a coordinated management process for the SDSFIE program, and to support the user community through education, implementation training, and technical support. To achieve these stated goals, the SDSFIE program operates under the following set of principles. The SDSFIE is mandatory for the installation and environment business missions, including the Army Corps of Engineers Civil Works programs. It is governed by consensus by the IG. It is responsive and built to support the official mission requirements and enterprise priorities of the DoD business mission area, including Civil Works missions. It will not duplicate or overlap with external standards, and the IG will vet those standards for applicability to our mission area. The SDSFIE standards, schemas, specifications, workflows, and related materials will be publicly available to the extent allowed by DoD policy. These standards and resources may be applied and utilized by other governmental, NGO, and/or private organizations. Finally, SDSFIE standards will be vendor neutral. Next, we will take a brief look at the SDSFIE portal and the tools that provide access to the standards and their implementation. The SDSFIE portal contains a set of resources that include web pages that provide background, governance, standard-specific information, and component-specific content, access to the Automated Process Portal, or APP, which is the online system that facilitates the change management process, or CMP, access to support resources, such as recorded webinars, training videos, and user manuals, access to the suite of SDSFIE tools, most of which focus on the implementation of data models that are compliant to the vector standard, and in some cases the metadata standard. These web browser-based applications include the following: Model Viewer enables users to browse and search single or multiple models for key terms and/or phrases, and to optionally generate logical and physical representations of a model. Model Builder enables users to create a new model as an adaptation of an existing parent model. Model Comparator enables users to compare two logical models, a parent and an adaptation of that parent, and fully describes their similarities and differences at an elemental level. Model Validator verifies a model as an adaptation of a parent model using a rule set defined in the SDSFIE Vector Implementation Guidance, and provides a spreadsheet output listing all non-compliance findings. Data Migrator is an ArcGIS-based toolset supporting the migration of data from one adaptation of SDSFIE-V to another version of the same adaptation. ArcGIS Tools is a set of 3 downloadable tools that run in the Esri ArcGIS environment: the Geodatabase Creator, the Logical Data Model Creator, and the Geodatabase Comparator. This concludes the overview of SDSFIE training. If you want to learn more about SDSFIE governance and use, or more detailed SDSFIE topics, visit our training resources page at the URL listed here. Thank you for your interest in the SDSFIE program.